Hey guys, Cody with Double C Custom Leather here. We are back. I know it's been a while and we haven't done a video in a while, probably about a year since I've done a leather video. But I'm ready to start making them again, and I'm looking forward to getting some content out here soon. Got a couple videos planned, a couple this week maybe, and we'll see how it goes. Tonight's video is going to be about a wet molding video. It's going to be on a Glock 43 holster. It's a really popular gun. We do a lot of holsters for it. It's inside the waistband. My last wet molding video, I'll link to it up in the top up here, and you can go watch that. I feel like when I rewatch the videos, I feel sometimes like I leave some stuff out, so I want to go back and address the things that I left out. Also, you know, we all get better as craftsmen. I feel like I'm better since I did that video at the wet molding process. Also, during that video, I used a press for the first half. A lot of people don't have a actual press for their wet molding, so I want to show you how to do it without using a press. And this is a perfect holster to do it on. So without further ado, let's get started. I'll get the camera turned around, show you guys what we're working with so far, and then we'll get started on the wet molding process. Hey guys, all right, so here we are. I'm sorry about the lighting. My normal light that I use for overhead lighting, it has some dead batteries in it, so I'm using a different light. I'm trying to make it work so I can get this video out. So here's the holster, and I want to go ahead and apologize as well. If you see sores on my hands or my arm, I have poison oak very badly, and it looks pretty terrible. It itches, but other than that, I'm fine. So if you see sores on my hands or my arms, I'm sorry. I know nobody really wants to look at that while they're watching a video, but I really wanted to get this video out. So essentially what the holster is it's a 9-ounce piece of leather, taco style, folded over, stitched together. Before we do that though, we put it inside the waistband clip around a structural piece here, and rivet it in, and then we go ahead and stitch that structural piece onto the actual body of the holster. This paint job on this holster is called like a smoke paint job. It's an airbrushed dye technique, and if anybody wants to see that, I plan on doing it down the road, but my last video I think was a dye video, so if anybody wants to see that sooner than maybe, you know, a couple months down the road, let me know, shoot me a comment, like the video, and maybe I'll do that as a sooner video than what I have planned. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I will get this thing soaking, cased up, and we will go ahead and get started on the wet molding process. All right guys, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing cased. I got a container here with some warm water in it. It's got a little bit of soap, a little bit of Dawn dish soap. I don't know what purpose the Dawn dish soap serves. I just heard that somewhere one time, and I've used it ever since, and it seems to work. So we're gonna go ahead and get this cased up. Go ahead and push the whole holster down in there, make sure everything's covered. You'll see kind of this piece hanging out, but that's totally fine because we're not wet molding that part anyways. We want to leave it in there and just kind of play with it, depending on the thickness of your leather. Sometimes it'll take a little longer. Sometimes it cases up pretty quickly. This particular wet molding project, because we're not using our press, we're going to want it really soft and supple so we can get some good detail in the wet molding and get some good retention to the holster. Also, this is an inside the waistband holster, so no kind of retention other than the wet molding itself. So that feels, to me, that feels pretty good. It's still firm, but it's not, but it's a little bit supple. So we'll get in there and start wet molding it. All right guys, so we got our holster cased up. It's nice and soft and supple. We got our blue gun. If you're using a real gun for this, make sure you safety check it. We use blue guns around here most of the time, so we don't have to safety check a blue gun. With the Glock 43 on the inside of the waistband, because the sights, you know, they stick up quite a bit, you're going to want to put a sight channel in there. So what I use is a wooden dowel. If you order a blue gun, actually they will send you a wooden dowel with it. It's about as big as a pencil, and it does really well. So you can see where the front sight is there. That gives you plenty of sight channel, so when you draw, you're not dragging your sights on the leather. There's nothing catching, there's no drag. Everything's high speed. So a lot of people will tape these dowels onto their blue guns or tape them onto the gun for this process. I find it just as easy to go ahead and just shove it in with the dowel, and then I'll kind of get the dowel positioned where I want it. And go ahead and put your gun in, flip it over, make sure the safety, or I'm sorry, not the safety, the mag release, I sound like a rookie here. The mag release is not being hit by the leather. If the mag release is being hit, that's going to cause a problem down the road because it'll actually drop the mag while the person's carrying it. So make sure your cuts on your leather are the correct distance away here to make that happen. This one is actually almost kind of touching, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the gun back this way a little bit just to keep it. Now we're good and clear of it. You want to get the dowel centered up, like if you were looking down the sight channel right there, and you see how that kind of creates some space between the top part of the taco fold and the gun itself. So we've got this positioned. If you need to center your gun up in the holster at all, go ahead and do that now, because once you start molding, you're gonna be creating seams in the leather that you can't take back. So we'll go ahead and get started molding. You guys, if you watched my last video, you know my favorite tool for molding is a Sharpie, the cap of a Sharpie. And what I typically do is I go around the trigger guard here first and just kind of get the general outline of the gun molded in. If your leather's cased properly, this should mold relatively easy. Because this is inside the waistband and we have this big structural piece here, there's not as much detail on the molding. You don't really have to worry about that as much. And I hope you guys can see on the video any kind of corner or anything you really want to dig up in there and get the molding really tight in there. Then what I'll do is I'll flip it around. I always start on my front side, and then I mold where the sight channel and the gun itself start, and that creates the sight channel. So, and you'll see I'm running into my structural piece here, so I'm not going to mold much anymore right there. But what I will do is I'll use my fingers and I'll push down on the leather, and that will kind of help out with the actual molding of that sight channel in there. And structurally it'll be fine, but you won't have that hard line there that kind of lets you know where it's at. So then I go into my trigger guard. Like I said, if you were doing it outside the waistband with a clean face, there'd be a lot more work and detail associated with this. And this, I know it looks really rough now, but you just got to kind of keep playing with it. This stuff's like clay when it's wet, so I mean, if you screw up, you can always go back and smooth it back out. The key is to not screw up, because it doesn't ever look as good as it did before you screwed up, but you can definitely fix it. So as far as the trigger guard goes, that's the outline of the trigger guard. Alright guys, so once you got that trigger guard outlined with your Sharpie or whatever you're going to decide to use, that's when I use my my more, I guess you could say, specialized tools, like my spoon here. This is just a molding spoon. You can pick them up at Tandy. I'll put some links in the description to some of this stuff, just to go ahead and let you guys try to get it offline off Amazon if you can. Plus that helps support the channel, so if you guys like what you see and you want to see me keep creating more content, definitely use those links to order products, okay? And so what I do is there's a raised portion in here, and I go ahead and I smooth that out. Don't use the edge of this too much, because you will like put a crease in there that you're not going to be able to take out. But where I will use the edge is around the edge of the trigger guard, and that puts kind of a harder line in that looks really, really good when everything's finished up. And then in the middle, just kind of small semicircles like so, and get it molded down and molded in. And this is where most of your retention is going to come from. So once you get this molded in, it'll help a lot with the retention. So the only other thing we're going to do on the front, just like I said, because there is a lot of, other than press all this leather down and get it close to the gun as you can, there's where the slide is right here on Glocks, there you can see this line here. There's actually a lip there, and I don't know if in the video you can see it, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this. This is called like a folding horn or something of that nature. I use it all the time for molding. I'm gonna put that in as a hard line and use that also to kind of get that leather tucked up in that little crease. Get it all the way up to where your clip is, and that just kind of makes the holster look so much better. There's not blank leather up there. Sorry if I was out of frame at all for that, guys. And that's what it looks like on the front. For the sake of brevity's sake, on the back, I'm gonna fast forward through a lot of this probably, but essentially you do it the same way. And guys, on this part you can kind of see what you would be looking at if you didn't have that structural piece on the back. Like, let's say you were either doing like a pocket style holster or just like a sleeve for a gun, or maybe outside the waistband, and you're using this video as something to kind of look into how to do an outside the waistband holster. You see how there's much more detail within here, except on the other side of the gun you'd actually have an ejection port here. You can mold that in as well, and that would create a lot of retention as well. So right now I'm just doing the slide crease again, and then that's where I'm going to stop it on this particular holster. I don't want to do, you can go into doing, you know, the lines right here for the grip and really get into the detail. It's not structural, it's more just kind of foo-foo stuff for looks. That stuff's not real structural, and it serves no purpose. And because this is an inside of the waistband holster, it's not going to be seen anyways. We still want it to be beautiful, obviously, but it's not going to be seen anyways. And then this part of the actual holster is going up against the skin, so it really, to me, that's not something that I'm gonna worry too much about. Alright guys, so that's how your holster should look when you're done. You can leave the gun in there and let it form, let it dry overnight. I'm going to show you just another little tip and trick that I like to do to give myself just a little bit more attention. See, when this leather is wet, it's very pliable. I can squeeze it. When it hardens up after the first time you wet it, it's going to be harder than what it was originally. It originally comes supple, and what I'm going to do is I'll put the gun in there and just check for retention, and I mean, I couldn't shake that out if I tried, and the retention's there. So you don't want it to be too tight, because you know, obviously you don't want to pull the holster out with the gun when you go to draw. All that's holding this thing in is this tight spring clip here. But what I do like to do to give myself a little bit of extra retention and to prevent from the holster becoming too loose once it breaks in, because you know, obviously leather breaks in, that's why we all love it. I just give it, once I take the gun out, I just give it a little squeeze, just a little squeeze, and just kind of the inside diameter of this holster, just decrease it by a tiny little bit. Okay, now it would be too tight for the gun to go in, but if I forced it, you know, I could put it in there, obviously, so that way when it dries with that little bit of extra retention. That way when it breaks in, it's perfect. That's just a little tip, something I kind of forgot to leave. I think I left out of the last video, but there's the holster. I'll get some still shots of the finished product in once it's all done and said and done with. Like I said, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and definitely comment if you want to see anything or if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer all you guys' questions. I know sometimes it takes me a little while to get to the comments, but I do try to get to everybody eventually. So until next time, guys, I got another video coming up shortly. It'll be a bragging board video with a holster we just finished. So you guys keep watching. See you next time.